So, when you are working with a discussion board or discussion-based grades, we have to address the elephant in the room. And that is, can you actually give credit to an individual post? Unfortunately, the answer is no. If you want to give credit for a post, your best option, if you don't want to go through the grade center nuances, is to find the post you want to grade and then reply to it. And you can say something like, +1 or plus credit, and then your feedback to the post would go in here. And you would do that for each post that you are grading for credit or marking as acceptable. And if you do want to use the Grade Center for keeping track of your notes and your grades for discussions, you have two options. Whenever you create a forum or you go to an existing forum and you go into its settings, by editing it, you have the option to grade either, well, you have three options actually. You can have no grading, which is where the +1 or plus credit plus the comment format could come into play. So that way you're making your grades manually and they're not tied to Blackboard or the Grade Center. The other option is you can grade the forum or you can grade a thread. And they essentially operate in the same way in that, again, you cannot mark an individual post for credit. So if you have the forum as the graded option, what you would see is you would see every single post a user has made in that forum. And then in your comments, you would specifically point out to one or two which you are counting for credit. If you do the threads, it's the same idea. You're going to see every post a student has made in that thread. And then in your comments, you have to specifically mention which one you are giving credit to or not. Now, I find that the grade forum is actually an easier format to work with because we have our forum, in this case a coat of arms assignment, and we have all of our users in their individual threads. But users can be posting in any number of threads, and they can have multiple posts per thread. So if we go to Grade Discussion Forum, what we can find is that we have our list of students, and then we can see the number of posts that they have made in this particular forum. And then by clicking on the grade option, if we go over to grade on the far right for this particular student here, whose name I can't show you for obvious reasons, if we go to grade, we're going to have a list of all of the posts they've made in that particular forum. And under feedback, this is where we assign a grade, and we can give them more points than is possible if you want to give extra credit, that is a possibility. And then we have our feedback. And so in the feedback, this is where we would mention, hey, I really liked your reply to Joe Doe when you mentioned X, Y, and Z. But your post in response to Jane wasn't quite as strong, and here's why. So your feedback, you're kind of addressing all of their posts as a collective. And that is how the grade a discussion forum would work. So again, you are basing their grades and their participation off of all of their activity in the overarching forum. Now the other option is to grade a thread. And you have to be really careful because in grade thread view, this forum here, we're going to use the grade a thread. And you're going to see we do not, first of all, have a grade forum button because we're not using that mode. So we can't do that. And if you go to any of these threads here, I can't edit them and assign a grade. These are threads that students have made before I switched the forum from a forum grade to a thread grade. And when you do that, you actually lose any grades that you were given into that forum or thread. So that change does override some things. And even if I go into this student's thread and I go into the thread, I still have no way of actually grading the thread. In fact, if you go to the grade center, this person's thread is not going to appear. Whereas if we grade a forum, the forum name is going to be the column name in our grade center. So grade thread doesn't appear here. Now why is that? Well, when you grade a thread or you enable thread view or thread grade view, however you want to call it, you as the instructor have to actually create the thread where all of the responses are then going to be graded. Students cannot make their own threads with when you are in that view. And that can be a pretty big deal depending on how your course is organized. So because the instructor did not actually post a thread in this forum, there's actually nothing to grade, at least nothing officially as far as Blackboard or its grade center are concerned. So to fix that, you as the instructor or TA have to actually create the thread in the forum, and you'd type your message, you'd type your thread directions, and then under number 4, grading, you have to actually check the grade thread and then determine the points possible. So let's say 25 points. And remember that now that we're doing this, when you see your list of students, you're going to see all of their posts in relation to that thread. Whereas with a forum, you would see all of their posts in relation to that forum. So they operate pretty similarly, but the grade thread is a lot more restrictive as to how your users can create their own threads. They can't.